Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Today, we are speaking with Rachel Beck. I'm excited about this conversation. Rachel is the owner of V Lakshmi Author. She is also the author of Finding Your Way When Life Changes Your Plans and a photographer. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Good morning, my friend, and how are you doing? And in Spanish, buenos dias, ¿cómo estás, amigo?
Oh, very well, very well. Well, you're doing great. You're doing great. Folks, we will be speaking today about mental toughness. But before we get into that conversation, Rachel, tell us a little bit about you.
Tell you a little bit about me. I am here trying to help as many people as I can on this planet because we're really, really hurting. And I take care of 300,000 people every day, and it's a massive responsibility. And I'm trying to educate people what it's like to really be an influencer, because there's a lot of assumptions, there's a lot of misinformation that is out there. So I am trying to teach the way. I'm trying to teach my network that they matter and that they're enough and that they can make it. And they need somebody who is cheering them on through life right now. People are struggling now. That's the reality of it.
And that is true. You know, the conversation is going to be about mental toughness. And just take a look, folks. All you have to do is look at the news. Wars about all over the place. Our own country can't even get together to select a speaker of the House. There's a lot of worry and a lot of turmoil and a lot of things on people's minds on a daily basis. You pick a day and it will be turmoil for someone. So, Rachel, your background seems to be one of turmoil, and you kind of navigated those years. You are where you are today. And I would say, thank the good Lord that everything has come in stages for you. Mm-hmm. But I looked at your history and your story. It is one that somebody else would not have been able to survive. We always think about our lot in life, and we are individuals because we are the only ones that could live our particular life. Had someone else been in your shoes, I don't know where they would be. But you have overcome, and why I brought you on today to talk about mental toughness is because your story is a story of overcoming through mental toughness. So what role does upbringing, because you had a particular upbringing, have on mental toughness?
It's a huge part of my story. I started off as an orphan in India. My mom died 2 days after giving birth. I'm looking for my biological father, which is no small. It's a massive job to do that. I was adopted by incredible parents from New York City. I grew up outside Philly. But everything I've gone through, you're correct, Enrique, most people couldn't survive what I've gone through. And that's the reality of that. And I've been told that. You got to imagine having this like strength inside of you that forces you to get back up. And I've had to do that so many times in my life, over and over again. And it's a choice. And as I'm speaking to you right now, I can see those moments where I was going, can I do it one more time? I mean, some days it's not easy at all to keep pulling that. But I know, I've had 4 near-death experiences. I've been part of a paper and research. I know that I'm here for a reason, or otherwise I would have been dead a long time ago. So I embrace life every day, and I'm gonna all these goals and purposes that I have that have nothing to do with me, but how they're going to benefit the world or how they're going to help people. It's a choice I make every day. And it's some days it's not easy.
Yeah, I can just imagine. And I know, having my own trials and tribulations of life, that some of those events would have surely killed some men had they gone through it, but it wasn't meant for them, right? That life and those events were not meant for them, just like theirs are not for mine. Now, there's a lot of people, and when we're talking about the ability to overcome and the comparison of my life versus yours, but why would you say that some people succumb to the trials of life? Because not everybody makes it through.
You know, a huge part of it is a strong support system, right? I have a very, tight inner circle that is my support system. There's no way. There's no way I could have gone through and gone back up without that support system. And I acknowledge them every single day of who they are, because nobody does this alone, right? Nobody does this thing called life alone. And that's a big part of it. You hear me say it all the time, you're not alone. Why? Because there are a lot of people who feel that way. So the emotional support system I've had my entire life and now is crucial. I think that because people don't have that, and that's why you and I, we outstretch our hands and say, hey, we're here for you. And that makes a very big difference. And we can continue to do that and remind people that they're not alone.
That's a very powerful assessment of that one thing. And I'll tell you that I was having a conversation with my daughter, and she says, "Hey, in this state, do you have people?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know some people there." That knowing that you have a community, right? And we're talking about being able to sustain some of the mental challenges and some of the trials of life requires community. Without it, you will feel like you're alone, and you will feel like it's not worth it. And then you'll make some decisions that some people don't come back from. But
Yeah,
community is very important.
it's very important. And also people need to know that they're special. They need to know that they're enough. People are inundated. I know this personally because what I wake up to, people are inundated with negativity. They're inundated with these horrible comments from people that they hear all day long, right? So I make sure you'll never see me say anything negative. You'll never see me write a negative comment, because you and I both know the power of words and the difference that they can make in someone's life.
Words are a tool. You either communicate to get something or communicate to do something else. And there's life and death. We know that we can yield this weapon called a voice to prop somebody up or to tear somebody down. And it takes energy, right? It takes energy on both sides, right? So I hope that folks are using that time to exert energy in a positive way and not make it something that will maybe push someone over the edge and you didn't even know it. In your opinion, what makes the difference in those that overcome life's challenges versus those that don't?
I think it's a choice. I think it's a conscious choice that people need to make within themselves. Right? We can get out there and we can motivate people, but it's still something they need to do for themselves. And it's like we can give them the information how to do it. And the most important thing, because you and I know this because of what we do for a living, we need way more empathetic people. And that's the problem. That's a huge, huge problem. And with the way things are now, it's necessary. I look for empathetic people all day long. I look for the kind people all day long. And then you know what? I'm going to take them to the very, very top. I try to remind people that success is in their hands. It's in their hands. And that everything they do, it definitely on the platform. It's a job interview. right? So their one negative comment or something that they say is damaging their own career. So I always tell my network, why are you self-sabotaging? It's hard enough. Life is hard enough.
Yeah, we do have a say in how our life goes to some extent, right? There are some circumstances that you can't change, right? If you're born in a village in Africa that there's not readily available supplies of shoes and clothing like we do here in the States in some town, those are circumstances, right? You can't change that. What you can change is the way you see things in those circumstances. I wish folks in the United States mainly would consider the lot of other people and be more grateful for what they have. Because I myself in Puerto Rico in the 70s remember dirt floors, right? I remember that. And a lot of people that I have grown up with never saw anything like that. And we're also responsible for the things that we let out of our mouths, especially when it comes to the preservation of our own profession. We control those things.
I 1000% agree with you. And you're correct, because that's where the lack of empathy comes in. Because if people are struggling for the basic needs, right? We're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, shelter, taking care of their families. That's always going to come first. I mean, that's anybody who's studied Abraham knows this, that those need to be taken care of first. And that's something that people forget. People forget about that. And I'm trying very hard, because some of my closest friends are in Africa and in other countries that are struggling. And I do agree with you that it's important to be grateful for what we have. I absolutely agree with you. I have traveled across this world, and I think it's really, really important. And that's where
Yeah.
empathy comes in.
I was just about to say that's where empathy starts to breathe, right? It starts to breathe.
That's
The fact that
exactly.
you can actually put yourself in someone else's shoes and then go from there. Now we're talking about the ability to overcome circumstances and challenges in life. So, what are some ways we can create a tough mind? Because you mentioned, hey, it starts with you. You have to put yourself in a position to be able to think this way. Well, how can you get to that point?
So finding out what tools are going to work for you. What are you implementing for yourself that helps you? So I have many things I do that help me. My art helps me a tremendous amount. My writing helps me a tremendous amount. So those are things that I do to deal with my own personal emotions, right? Because we all have emotions, and I have certain outlets, like, I run, but and definitely things I do with art, because it's helping me express the subconscious level that I'm not able to verbalize. And sometimes it's like that. So you need an outlet. So I write a tremendous amount, and whether or not I share it with the world, that's okay, because it's me getting it out.
And that's so important to catalog your thoughts, look at what you're dealing with, and then try to bring an approach where you can use different tools, as you mentioned, to facilitate overcoming. Now, there's people that kind of like you from birth had a circumstance that they could not plan for, right? As children, we don't do a little dinner menu and say, okay, guys, give me this, right? Give me that parent. We're just here. We come to the parents that we are allotted to. And so you had that circumstance that by many levels is one of the toughest to ever be placed in as a child, right? So what would you say that we can do to take a struggle like that, a struggle in life, just general, and make that a triumph?
Did you learn the lessons, or why? Someone asked me, it was really, really interesting, about 6 months back, and I was doing an interview like this, and he knows my whole life story, right? And he said to me, he knows that I battled disease for 20 years. I mean, he knows all of it. He said, do you feel that everything that's happened to you in your life, whether it was good, bad, anything that you've gone through, has led you up to this moment in your life? And it was a really profound question. It's kind of what you're saying, right? Like everything you've been through, has it, he's basically saying, do you think it's made you the person who you are today? And I had to think about it. I really had to take some time and think about that question. But now with doing what I'm doing, yes, I think everything happened to me because I could do it. I could handle it. I could survive it. And now I can take that courage and strength and send that light out to people.
What has these times in your life produced? Right? You just mentioned courage. What other things has it produced that someone else can look forward to as they're going through their struggles?
I like to call it, and I'm not a deeply religious person, let me just say that, but I would like to call it soul work. It's important to do that no matter what you do. For a lot of people, it's excuse me, it's their exercising, it's their art, it's their music that they're writing and playing. And so we neglect that, or we don't. I listen to my soul every day. It will guide me where I'm supposed to go. Do I make mistakes? Yeah. I'm a human being. But I learn from it. And I think I don't think people are forgiving enough of themselves. I think we just need to do that. And I'm going to be addressing that because people are the worst critics, right? Forget the rest of the world that's critiquing us, criticizing us. They are judging everything we do. But then you have inside of us, right? We are tearing ourselves down because of everything that we've heard. So now you just have to figure out a way to recondition yourself. Is it easy? No. And I studied psych in university. I minored in psychology and gender studies. I'm deeply passionate about psychology. I had somebody, one of my mentors in my life, because she's a force to be reckoned with. One of the wisest things that she said to me when I was 18 years old, and I remember this conversation like it was yesterday. And she said to me, Rachel, the minute you stop growing or you stop working on yourself, you become stagnant. And that is a very powerful message to tell an 18-year-old. And I have taken that through my life.
There's a lot of things that you can do as an individual. One of those things is allow 8 billion people to put you down, or allow yourself to negate those 8 billion people and assert yourself. And, that power is either wielded or put away. And if you put it away, you're going to have 8 billion chances of going down and being beaten. But that one person, you can negate all that in one instance, that you stand up and you say, not today. So I encourage all the listeners today to be that one person for yourself. Listen to yourself, encourage yourself, and give yourself a chance, because the odds are stacked against you, but you have an inner power that will refute and diffuse all of those that may come your way. So thank you for sharing that, Rachel. Now, I wanted to ask you, what do you have coming up, and how can people get a hold of you if they wanted to learn more about overcoming obstacles and having a strong mindset?
People can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Who I am, what I'm doing, and that I'm approachable. And that's a big part of it. That it being approachable. And you said, I was listening to everything you were saying. You said something very, very powerful. And what you said is, not today. And I know those moments because I've had them where you have to tell yourself, today is not the day. And I understood exactly where you're coming from. I understood the strength behind those words. Because, like you, I've had to say shit. Like, so I understand. And I think that's a really powerful words that people need to tell themselves.
Absolutely. Now, folks, we're going to have her information as part of the show notes and video, and so that you can get a hold of Rachel for any of the services that she provides or any of the content that she puts out, continuously putting out great information to help our fellow LinkedIn family members. Her network is way beyond 250,000, right? So she is doing great work in that regard. So thank you, Rachel, for spending this moment with me to talk about mental toughness, talk about how to overcome that and put yourself in a position where you can be an overcomer.
I would like to take a moment, sir, and thank you very much for having me. I want to talk, we've been friends for a long time. I want to talk about what an incredible job you're doing. And then I'm behind you 1000%. And if you ever need anything, Enrique, please reach out. So thank you for having me today. It is my honor and my privilege.
Thank you for sharing the space. Now, folks, today's episode is sponsored by Fantail Services Superpass, which are powering our website and app, Southern Sweet and Sassy Coffee, and Harchester, London. If you've enjoyed this episode and learned something interesting about the topic covered today, make sure to subscribe and let us know by leaving a comment. And we're always looking for new ideas and guests that we can add to our show. So if you know someone and have a topic that you would like featured on the podcast or want to sponsor our show, we'd love to hear about it by emailing us at triadleadershipsolutions@gmail.com. And be sure to tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you.